Three criminals attempt to blackmail Park Mu-jin, a politician of the Korean National Assembly, only for the criminals to be murdered by supernatural means that flattens the island they are standing on. Mu-jin begins making preparations for the upcoming God of High School martial arts tournament. Jin Mori, a 17-year-old martial artist, is late for the preliminary tournament while chasing a purse thief on a motorbike and catches him by teaming up with 17-year-old swordswoman Yumira and 17-year-old martial artist Han Dae-wi. At the tournament, it is explained fighters can use any martial art, bare fist, or weapons. The fighters are injected with nanomachines to monitor their vitals and heal injuries so they can fight harder. The announcer declares the fights will not be paired duels, but a mass brawl. Many fighters are defeated easily, until the commissioners send in convicted criminal Kang Man-seok, a super strong martial artist who fights only with his feet due to his wrists being handcuffed. He humiliates Mira by stealing her bakkan, then decides to duel Mori after Mori moves fast enough to avoid injury and even damage one of Man-seok's ankles. Park Mu-jin infiltrates the Pentagon to see the president. It is revealed Mori never got to duel Man-seok since Mira snapped Mori's neck to retrieve her bakkan. The three fighters walk home together and Mori explains he entered the tournament for a rematch with the commissioner who scouted him. Dae-wi wants money to pay for his friend Woo Sung-tae's medical bills and Mira seeks a suitable husband so she can save her family's sword style by passing it to her children. Mori accidentally drops her bakkan into the river so he and Dae-wi help her find it as it was a gift from her late father. At the next fight Mori, Mira and Dae-wi make it through their matches. Man-seok fights Go Gamdo, a Tai Chi user. Man-seok reveals he uses northern-style taekwondo designed for battlefield combat that allows moves such as eye gouging and groin strikes. Man-seok beats Gamdo and demands he beg for mercy. Disgusted, Mori saves Gamdo. The commissioners try to intervene but are overwhelmed by Man-seok's rage at being humiliated. Despite this, Mori easily renders Man-seok unconscious, only to find himself restrained by Mu-jin's unexplained powers. Mu-jin orders Mori be punished for interfering in a match. A mysterious cult watches the tournament. Mori faces disqualification until Mu-jin recognizes Mori's grandfather, Jin Tae-jin. Mira defeats Mon Mizion, an American female wrestler who entered the tournament seeking men for her harem. Mira reveals her family martial art includes swordless style, which can slice flesh using only fingers. Mori is told he can remain if he beats one of the commissioners, though not the commissioner Mori wants. That night Mori eats a peach Mu-jin gave him and immediately vomits blood as it was not a normal peach. Dae-wi's friend Sung-tae switches to a more expensive medication so Dae-wi becomes even more determined. He duels Baek Sunchul who fights with a baseball bat. Despite painful damage to his organs Dae-wi destroys his bat and knocks Sunchul unconscious. Mori awakens and only just makes it to his fight. He is told he will win if he can push the commissioner to the floor. Then when the commissioner mocks him, he easily pushes him down. Mori is amazed his body feels more powerful, but the commissioner is so angry he activates a supernatural power and summons a clown-like spirit to kill Mori, only stopping after being restrained by his fellow commissioners. Mu-jin happily confirms Mori is Taejin's tiger cub and swears to take possession of him. Mira is approached by Seongjin, a martial artist and businessman who asks her to marry him, promising he can make her sword style world famous. Mira withdraws from the tournament, angering Mori who criticizes her for treating marriage like a business arrangement and becomes convinced Seongjin has an ulterior motive. Mira's uncle asks Seongjin to end the engagement for Mira's happiness, but Mira insists they continue. Mori decides to infiltrate the wedding. Seongjin has a flashback revealing he is a cult member ordered to marry Mira to obtain her moonlight sword style, believed to be capable of defeating God. Mori infiltrates the wedding with Dae-wi's help and tries to convince Mira alongside her uncle and cousin. Mira is convinced not to waste the effort she already put into saving her sword style herself and cancels the wedding. Enraged, Seongjin admits he only wanted Mira's moonlight sword and summons a samurai spirit to kill them, managing to escape with Mira's bakkan. Mira is unconcerned and decides to re-enter the tournament without it. Later, Sung-tae deteriorates and Dae-wi snaps and assaults several bullies who routinely harass him at work. During his match against Mira, Dae-wi wins by savagely beating the swordless Mira unconscious and promising to defeat Mori in the finals. In his youth Dae-wi shared a violent rivalry with Sung-tae that developed into friendship. Mori defeats his next opponent and will face Dae-wi in the finals. In hospital Mira urges Mori to fight Dae-wi for the right reasons, not for revenge. As their match begins Dae-wi and Mori are evenly skilled and Mu-jin watches hoping Mori will awaken. Mori knocks Dae-wi down and tries to show him mercy instead of taking revenge, but Dae-wi takes advantage, claiming he was never really their friend and unleashes a devastating attack. By chance Mira stumbles across Sung-tae's room in hospital and finds his family in mourning as he had already died. Dae-wi knocks Mori down, but as the referee begins the countdown Mu-jin, who had promised to cure Sung-tae if Dae-wi won, informs Dae-wi Sung-tae is dead, hoping to unbalance him. Dae-wi flashes back through his entire friendship with Sung-tae and decides to lose the match. Mira arrives and interrupts the match with a goodbye letter Sung-tae wrote to Dae-wi. With renewed determination Dae-wi rejoins the fight, rediscovering his friendship with Mori. Mori deals a final blow to a happy Dewi, winning the match. Mujin comments that he seems to have found 2 tiger cubs. As the 3 friends leave the ring together, several other fighters watch them with interest. Mori's missing grandfather, Jin Tae-jin, refuses to join a mysterious cult, so they summon their god to destroy him. Mori is now Seoul's regional champion and can compete in the national tournament with a team of the regional's strongest 3 fighters. Mira defeats her next opponent, making her the 3rd fighter. Mujin hopes one fighter from nationals will awaken as the key. The commissioners worry over a group called NOX interfering, so Mujin summons the 6, including his elderly former instructor, Na Bangchim, who decides to make Mori his pupil to provoke Jin Tae-jin. While shopping, Mira meets the tournament's announcer, Sim Bonsa, with his family and realizes Bonsa is actually blind. He advises her to channel her feelings into her sword to find the true strength of Moonlight Style, revealing it was Moonlight Style that blinded him. As Bonsa leaves, he is approached by a NOX assassin, Priest Drake McDonald. Dewi demands Mujin tell him about the powers behind the tournament, so Mujin tells him about Chariot, fighters who borrow power from gods, demons, even historical heroes, and Mujin wants to find the strongest. The remaining members of the 6 receive their summons and start to move. Dewi tells Mori and Mira about Chariot, though this only makes Mori more excited about fighting strong opponents. As the national tournament begins, it is revealed that Drake not only killed Bonsa, but also seemingly Commissioner Q. At nationals, Mori and his friends face the North Chungcheong regional champions. Mori uses Bangchim's acupuncture techniques for strength, but accidentally paralyzes himself and loses to Na Jaidong. Drake brags to Q about killing Bonsa and his wife and baby. Q recovers and activates his Chariot, the scythe-wielding Joker playing card, and cuts Drake's arms off. Drake recovers by using his Chariot caterpillar to reattach his arms. Dewi faces Jean Pumguang, an unintelligent but hard-working man who wants to help children who struggle in school. Pumguang uses his Chariot laborer to summon a giant hammer, but Dewi knocks Pumguang unconscious. Q almost kills Drake, but is stopped by 2 NOX assassins, Priest Saturn and Axley Ivanovich. Commissioner O arrives to assist Q in combat. Meanwhile, Mira faces fellow swordswoman Jang Jangmi, a kendo practitioner whom she defeats, winning the match for their team. Outmatched by O and Q, Saturn and Axley flee while Drake sets off an explosion from his own body that destroys the top of the building. Mujin determines that a traitor must have told NOX Q's home address. The severed arm of Jin Tae-jin is discovered, suggesting he was defeated and captured. The next team matches begin and Jiggle Take starts his match using his Chariot Megalodon to brutally bite and rip his opponent. Dewi intervenes in the match, but fails to stop Take from claiming a sadistically violent victory. The South Giala team enter the semifinals after the victory of Park Ilpio using the ancient martial art Taekyon and his Chariot, Nine-Tails Guardian. Mori is suspicious the tiger on Ilpio's jacket is the same as Taejin's military uniform. Dewi becomes interested in acquiring a Chariot while Mori decides against using Chariot. Mori is approached by Ilpio, who explains after his father died and his mother abandoned him, Taejin gave him a Taekyon training manual written by Ilpio's deceased grandfather, inspiring him. Take attempts to assassinate Ilpio, almost killing Mori, but Ilpio saves Mori. Q learns Bongsa's wife and baby are alive, Drake having actually killed doppelgangers created by P after Bongsa was killed. Mujin informs Q 9 months' salary will be confiscated to cover the damages of his fight with Drake. Q runs into Dewi, who, seeing Q has no money, offers him 1 free meal a day in exchange for Chariot training. Mujin informs the commissioners they have permission to use the full power of their Chariots to prevent NOX assassinating the key. Mori becomes depressed over missing Taejin. Dewi and Mira receive anonymous messages informing them it is Mori's birthday and rush to celebrate with him, cheering him up. They decide to win the tournament together, then duel each other to decide who is strongest. Mori receives a map and a photograph of Taejin imprisoned, missing his arm but still alive. With Dewi suspended for having interfered in Take's match, they will automatically lose unless Mira and Mori both win, except Mori is missing. Mira begins her duel against Lee Marin, who reveals he has Mira's stolen Bakken, explaining he unlocked the full power of Moonlight Style where Mira failed and transforms her Bakken into the sword Fengxian. Mira retrieves Fengxian, only for it to return to Marin, having recognized him as its true owner. Mori follows the map to Taejin, realizing too late he is a fake which explodes. The bomber, Fei Long, reveals he is killing weaker fighters like Mori to locate the key faster, and that he uses the Chariot doppelganger to create clones. Marin stabs Mira, declaring her too weak to wield the power to kill God. Mori is overwhelmed by the clones until Long reveals Marin and his team are dead and replaced by NOX cultists disguised using doppelganger. Furious, Mori uses an acupuncture technique to make him temporarily immune to pain. Mira refuses to give up and has a flash of divine inspiration, granting her the Chariot Lu Bu Fengxian and true ownership of the Fengxian sword. Marin attempts to use his Chariot Kraken but is defeated. Mori suddenly appears and easily defeats the second NOX imposter, flashbacks suggesting he killed Long to avenge the real Marin. Bangchim admits Mori has grown from Taejin's tiger cub into a true tiger. Ilpio remembers how Taek defeated his teammate Sunjian, ending her martial arts career. Now he is determined to get Sunjian surgery to fix her leg. Mujin informs Mori and his friends that NOX worship a single god and plan to murder all other gods and Chariot users. Long is revealed to be alive until Taek arrives, having gotten all the information he needed from Long. He then murders Long, declaring he will claim the key. Mujin tells Mori he is too weak to help Taejin, but if he wins the tournament he will give him some valuable information. Daewoo wins his semi-final match against Ilpio's teammate Park Sunga. Sunjian scolds Ilpio for worrying about her when he should be keeping a promise he made to Taejin. Mujin confronts Sang Mandiak, a high-ranking NOX cultist who infiltrated the arena, only for Mandiak to summon his god. Mori struggles against Ilpio, who points out his every weakness, only for Mori to begin overcoming his weaknesses by copying the fighting styles of both Mira and Daewoo. One of the six, Seo Hanriang, attacks the god with his 108 national treasure weapons to protect the arena. After a lengthy battle, the god is defeated and the arena saved. Meanwhile, Mori defeats Ilpio, who remembers the promise he made to Taejin that he would help Mori grow as a fighter if he ever had the chance. Ilpio suddenly receives divine inspiration from his Chariot, Nine-Tails Guardian, and awakens a new power. Mandiak happily declares the key has finally awoken. Thousands of years ago, the Nine-Tailed Guardian was betrayed by God and, after destroying half of heaven, fled to Earth and swore revenge. All Chariot users feel the awakening of Nine-Tails and instinctively fear it, except Mori, who is excited. While Ilpio is stronger, his new power causes him pain. Mori almost loses his match to Ilpio but suddenly wins with a strange power that overwhelms even the Nine-Tails. Daewoo and Mira ask Mori if he unlocked a Chariot, but Mori is unsure. Mujin senses the Nine-Tails' defeat and orders Ilpio be secured immediately while Mandiak flees. Mori visits Ilpio in hospital and explains about Jin Taejin still being missing. Elsewhere in the hospital, John Jugok, who lost his Chariot mage after being defeated by Taek, gains a new Chariot from Mandiak Greed that allows him to absorb other people to increase his strength. He attacks Taek only for Taek to bite him in half with Megalodon and kill him. Everyone Jugok absorbed is expelled, including Ilpio's teammates, who Ilpio is horrified to see both had limbs bitten off by Megalodon. Furious that Taek once more injured people he cares about, Ilpio attacks Taek. Meanwhile, Mandiak opens his god summoning portal once more, allowing an army of creatures to appear. With the key located and the creatures approaching, Mujin declares the God of High School tournament officially over. Sang Mandiak calls forth God Incarnate in a final act to destroy the entirety of the world, thus ending the 11-episode-long fighting tournament central to the God of High School. The United States is made aware of the situation and fires nuclear missiles on Seoul in an attempt to subdue the old god, with complete disregard to the hundreds of thousands of lives to be lost as a result of this decision. The fight between Jigul Taek and Park Ilpio continues, with Taek revealing his true form to gain an upper hand. He consumes Ilpio and releases the key from within him. In a moment of frenzy upon the appearance of the key, members of the six servants of the god and Jin Mori clamor to seize the key, with Mori emerging with it in his possession. In order to protect the fighters, Park Mujin teleports them away to a spirit realm. With the missiles near and the citizens of Seoul stampeding to find shelter, John Jae-san too teleports all of the people of Seoul to a cliffside outside of Seoul, from which they witness the destruction of the god at the hand of Jae-san and his transmutation magic. In a bright flash, Mori and the other fighters are transported back to Seoul, where they see the body of the dead god. In the final moments, the key is stolen and consumed by Taek, and all bear witness to his ascension. After consuming the key, Taek transcends his mortal body and becomes a god. He begins to ambush Jin Mori and his friends, threatening to consume everything in his way. Mori's memory is triggered and he remembers his true identity. He is actually the great god son Myokong, the Monkey King. Despite not remembering many details of his life before becoming immortal, he jumps into action and summons his Rui Jingu staff to fight Taek. The Monkey King manages to get in several punches, and even drops constant lightning strikes using his power to summon nimbus clouds. This enrages Taek and transforms him into a monster-like appearance. Mori's friends join in the fight and finish Taek for good. Kim Eun-yo, founder of the Six, is awoken from her cave slumber and congratulates the group for completing the tournament and offers them a chance to have one wish granted. Mori initially wants to wish for his grandfather, but remembers Ilpio's friends are missing limbs and unselfishly wishes for them to be healed. Eun-yo tells Mori that his grandfather is still alive, and he finally loses consciousness as a result of the battle. He wakes up 3 months later, and Daewoo and Mira inform him they must travel to the Monkey King's origin place to recover his memories as a god. Its moral might be that true strength comes not just from physical prowess, but from the bonds of friendship and the willingness to stay true to oneself despite external pressures. It emphasizes the importance of teamwork, loyalty, and staying grounded even in the face of overwhelming challenges. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel because it is very important for the development of the channel.